By nature of the way things are trending, Auburn may be looking for a new head coach. How hot is the seat right now for Hugh Freeze? The buyout for him, for those of y'all that are curious, right around $15 million. James Franklin just got, or is going to get rather, north of $49 million for leaving the job at Penn State. So you compare that to $15 million. Okay, I think that's probably something that's workable. To put this simply, the seat is hot for him at Auburn right now. Talking to folks that are in the know with that sort of thing. Auburn is far too talented to be 0-4 in the SEC. Again. Keyword, again. It's not year 2 or year 1 where you're still trying to build your roster and clean up Brian Harson's mess. Like, it's year 3. Year 3 is the point in time where you actually have your name written next to the culture of your team, the personnel of your team. You're accountable for your team in year 3 is how I would perceive it. Now, where we are currently in the context of that seat being hot, talking to people that are familiar with the situation, the feeling is if he loses to Arkansas on Saturday, Hugh Freeze that is, probably game, set, match. Now, the timeline of that has to do with how they lose to Arkansas. Now, I want to go on record. I have picked Auburn to win the football game. I hope Hugh Freeze keeps this job. Hugh Freeze has been nothing but good to us on this show, but this is kind of the place we find ourselves in. If they get blown out by Arkansas, or it's a convincing Arkansas win, it's probably a thing where he gets fired on Sunday, is the feel around it. Now, if it's a walk-off field goal and there's a bad PI call and Auburn falls 27-24 in Fayetteville, then it's a thing where, hey, listen, this thing is probably going to be done for Hugh Freeze long-term at Auburn, but I don't know if we're having this whole firing conversation on Sunday. Still could, but it feels less likely. Now, if he wins on Saturday, the plot thickens, you see how it goes, and you play the games that you have left on the schedule so far as you survive and advance to the next week. Now, I want to make sure that we address this part of it. There are, according to Justin Hokanson, who does phenomenal work for Auburn Live, the On3 site for us regarding Auburn sports and Auburn athletics, he put a post out on their board and basically said, listen, not everyone's out on Hugh Freeze. That's a decision maker relative to firing Hugh Freeze. There's a lot of people that understand a couple of those calls in the Georgia game were not ideal. The Oklahoma call, heck, the SEC came out and said it shouldn't have happened and there should have been a penalty on that play. So there's been some crucial calls for Auburn, or rather against Auburn, that have caused these games to break different directions, at least the momentum to break different directions. You know how I feel about that. I think at this point in time for Auburn, it shouldn't be about the calls. But by nature of how this whole discussion is going around Hugh Freeze, the people in charge think that those still maybe had something to do with where Auburn is currently in the context of this season. So there's still some people that support Hugh Freeze that could decide on firing Hugh Freeze, to put it simply. Now, I'm curious to see, or curious to learn rather, where Jimmy Rain is on this whole thing. Jimmy Rain is the richest man in Alabama. And if Auburn wants to fire Hugh Freeze, they probably can do so with that $15 million buyout on their own, but whoever you hire next, you probably need Jimmy Rain in the boat on that one. And so just a food for thought here, just Jimmy Rain will, I think, have some way, shape, or form an impact on this whole decision when it comes to Hugh Freeze if he ends up being your guy after this Saturday if you lose to Arkansas. So what do you do next? If you do fire Hugh Freeze, you pay that $15 million. The feeling is DJ Durkin probably gets the interim tag, but you probably also go and hire somebody from the outside. John Summerall is a name that I was told to make some sense. We'll see what happens there. Here's my opinion on this, though. I don't understand why, with all the discussion around Hugh Freeze's job security, we're talking about playing Ashton Daniels. And this is not a take where I'm down on Ashton Daniels. I think if he gives you a spark and wins you football games, more power to you. But didn't Billy Napier just keep his job a year ago because he played DJ Lagway? Now you say, well, JD, yeah, DJ Lagway had a lot of success. That's why he kept his job. Yeah, 100% true. But what if Deuce Knight goes in the game against Arkansas, plays well enough to make you feel excited about what he could be long-term on the Plains? The understanding, when Billy Napier was the head coach last year and DJ Lagway was playing the way that he played, it was like if you fire Billy Napier, you run the risk of losing who DJ Lagway is. And at that point in time, the excitement around DJ Lagway and his future was tremendous. If Deuce Knight goes out there and looks like a 5-star quarterback and has the same kind of effect that DJ Lagway had, re-energizes the team, you see some pop moments that make you feel like he could be a guy for you there for a while, do you really want to run the risk of firing the guy that brought that future star to your program? I don't think so. So I understand that we're talking about Ashton Daniels getting more reps and all those things with Jackson Arnold, but that's just something that I'm curious to keep a pulse on here as this weekend progresses and as Auburn goes out in there and plays Arkansas. Now, here's the unfortunate reality. We're talking about hot seat stuff for Hugh Freeze. We're talking about what happens against Arkansas and if that changes the timeline for him. How many times do we see head coaches get off the hot seat when it's as hot as it is right now for Hugh Freeze? Like, if we're talking about one game making the difference for you, do we really think that 2 games can make the difference for Hugh Freeze if he goes out and wins 2? Or if they go out and win a couple to finish the season? Like, does 7-5 make you feel great about next year for Hugh Freeze? And this isn't even my opinion anymore. This is just purely where we're at. The only coach that I can remember having a seat that was this temperature and then bouncing back and having massive success was Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, and that is a massive anomaly. I think the fact that we're this far down the road of talking about Hugh Freeze staying the head coach at Auburn, to me feels like the writing is pretty clearly on the wall. Now, maybe that writing's in pencil and not Sharpie, but the wall is marked up either way. And with the wall marked up the way that it is for Hugh Freeze, it feels like this thing is a matter of when, not so much if. Okay, now the if could be a lot more definitive here relative to what could happen on Saturday, but that's kind of where we are right now with Hugh Freeze. Some of that's my opinion. A lot of that's the reports when it comes to how he's being perceived right now internally at Auburn. But again, get a membership to Auburn Live, the Auburn on 3 site. A lot of good stuff, a lot of good intel there that will keep you up to the know around the clock. All right, so make sure you're locked in there.